yeah, design's important. What can I do? You know, I'm not a designer. I'm not a developer. I'm just a blogger. And you can put in that green box or that green text. I'm just an agency person. You know, I'm just a blogger. I'm just somebody that works at my company that thinks that my company's website is not doing its job. You know, what can I do? Or what can I suggest to a designer to have them go back to my blog and say, hey, I want you to see if this is if you're doing this, and if not, we need to fix it. And honestly, that's okay. How many of you guys that are bloggers and agency professionals, how many of you know a little bit of HTML? Mostly everybody here. That's good. And that actually segues into the first couple of tips that I have. And I sort of condensed it down into 6 tips because, like I said, I've only got a little bit of time and a lot of information. So I wanted to give you sort of the high points, and then we can talk more in depth out on the expo floor. Number 1, know your craft. If you're a blogger, you want to make sure that you at least know a little bit about the platform that you're working on and about the code that you're using or that's going on behind the scenes. Because when you type into the WYSIWYG editor, this is the code that's going on behind the scenes that if you were to view the source, which is the code part of the website, this information is going on behind the scenes. So yeah, it looks really nice and pretty in the WYSIWYG editor, but this is the real meat and bones of what's going on. So if something on your blog looks awry or something doesn't look like it should be there, you can go in and take a look and say, oh, well, there's a misplaced, UL tag, which is an unordered list. There's a misplaced div tag, which is sort of just an empty divisor. And that div tag is what really takes CSS, which is cascading style sheets, which is the visual layer of modern websites, and structures that into a cohesive whole that is a website. So these tags are sort of the basics, and I'll run through them just for people who may not be aware of what they do. The P tag is a paragraph. Strong, of course, makes things bold. EM is emphasis. It means it's italicized. BR with a slash is a line break. It's self-closing, which means that it adheres to accessibility and good web practice standards. An image tag, it displays an image, obviously. UL is the unordered list. OL is an ordered list, number 1, 2, 3. A list item is an individual item in that list. And then, of course, once again, the div tag is an empty container for structure and formatting data that's on the website. Along with that, if you're using WordPress, take an hour and just go through sort of how WordPress works as a whole. WordPress uses what's called the loop, so you want to make sure that you familiarize yourself with the loop and at least how your content is being structured. Knowing is half the battle, and it allows you to speak to a person who can either do the design for you or allows you to go in yourself and sort of look at the design and know what's going on. Okay, so this is the PHP the content tag. This means that this displays the post content of my post. So if I want something to go after this in every post, a popular one I've heard today is I need to put a disclosure after every post I have automatically. That way I can set it and forget it. It would go after the PHP the content tag. If you're a blogger or if you're on one of the other engines, familiarize yourself with the code that makes your software run. It's like driving a car without having a license and having never driven a car before if you don't know your blogging platform. You're basically utilizing it only enough to get your content in instead of using it for its full potential, which will ultimately get you more readers and will ultimately allow you to be an effective and a better blogger. Number 2, use discretion. And I see this a lot in more of the hobby bloggers, people who don't blog professionally, but people who want to take themselves from a hobby blogger to a professional blogger, they think that just by taking their website and writing better content and not focusing on the other elements that go on around the screen, that they're going to be a better blogger. Unfortunately, every widget that you install has the potential to distract from your content. Now, I'm not saying go out and take out every single widget and just focus on the content, because those widgets are there to enhance what content we have. People want to know what we're doing besides blogging, so having the latest tweets widget on the right-hand sidebar is a way for people to see that, oh, well, they're not just doing their work, they're having fun, they're doing other stuff, they're talking about other people, and it allows it to be a connecting point for people on the web. If you want a fun widgets page, something that's very similar to a Facebook fun wall, something I recommend to clients that want to put on the how many ninjas I've killed or whatever. If separate section that's just for that. You know, take that and make that a part of your online personality and part of the content that you have. But don't let it distract from the main content that people are coming to your site to see. And also, the best way to have widgets that style with your website design is to look for widgets that style to your theme automatically. And a lot of widget plugin developers or widget developers will tell you, we have a style sheet that you can edit, or this will automatically take on whatever styles that your website has. Alex King's Twitter Tools plugin is a great example of that because it uses an unordered list that your blog template probably already has styled already. That was redundant, I'm sorry. Already styled. So, number 3, and this may come as a bit of a shock to a lot of people who are just worried about sort of the visual layer, but using good markup, which markup is sort of the HTML and the PHP code that you have running in the back of your blog. Good markup can make or break a site's not only design, but search engine optimization. When I do client sites, I tell them that I have what's called a natural SEO plan for their site, which means that I use H tags. Who knows what an H tag is? Maybe it's better, who does not know what an H tag is? So when you're doing headings and subheadings and subheadings in your blog, and you format the poster or the subheading or the subheading title with a different style, which usually appears in the WordPress editor or in the WYSIWYG editor, you're applying these H tags. And if you think about it like an outline that you do for a book report at school, you've got your title of your headline, which is your H1 tag. Your first bullet point is an H2 tag, and then underneath that is an H3, H4, H5, etc. You always want to have one H1 tag per site, and that's always going to be the title of your page or the title of the particular content that you're talking about on that page. Because you want people to see that this is the main part of the website. This is why you are here. And use your H2 and H3 tags accordingly. What the good markup also allows you to do is it allows you to target specific items with CSS, with the visual layers. So if you want all of your subheadings to match, you can go in and say, I want all of the H3 tags to look this way. I want all of the H4 tags to look this way. And it allows you to specifically target parts of the design and allows the design to be more cohesive than just throwing elements in at random or throwing them in willy-nilly. Number 4, use color theory. I'm not saying that you have to go out and memorize the color wheel. Typically, you don't want to mix a lot of colors on a website unless you have a really good reason for doing so. More artistic web designs do use a lot of color. But if you're looking for something that focuses more on the text as a content or even just as pictures with a little text, you want to stick with 1 to 3 colors, 2 of them being primary and secondary colors. So who remembers what the primary colors are? Think back to kindergarten. Red, yellow, and blue. Okay, what about secondary colors? Green.
Orange, violet.
Orange, and purple. Very good. Purple is an iffy color to use on the web. That really, really dark royal purple will hurt your eyes if you try and look at it. But use common sense with colors, and if 2 colors don't look good together, don't use them. If they don't look good together for you, they're probably not going to look good together with everyone else that looks at the website. And the third color you can add that usually works really well, and it's a safe bet, is some sort of a neutral color, which is a black, a gray, a white, or a brown or beige. And that allows you to take 2 really bright and vibrant colors, mix them with something that's a little bit neutral, and you have sort of a color palette to work on, and you can take that to a designer or use that in your own fonts selections to, accentuate information or call out information. And that goes with all the colors, not just your font colors, but on your website as well. If you're customizing background colors or whatever, stick to a palette, be consistent with it. Don't switch up your colors in mid-post or in mid-blog just because you feel like it. Consistency is the best thing that you can have on a blog because if your design is consistent, people are going to assume that your content is consistent as well. And it goes vice versa too. If your content is consistent, people expect your design to be consistent. And you don't want to throw them a curveball because they'll get a mental brain cramp and leave your site.